All right, let's get into our roundup rep. This is what we bring to you on Rise and Shine on Mondays, and we speak to our resident analyst, Mighty Jamie, talking about some of the stories highlighted earlier from last week over the weekend, as well as throwing forward to this new week ahead. A very good morning to you, Mighty. How are you?
I'm very well, and good morning to all the listeners and viewers.
I trust the weekend was good for you.
Very quiet. This is how I like it.
Yeah, we love it. The older we get, I'm telling you, that's just the way to go. So today, let's start with Tanzania. The president there, Samia Suluhu Hassan, has been re-elected with a staggering 97.6% of the vote. The Electoral Commission having announced this on Saturday. The result also was after 3 days of polls. They had closed, and that also comes after some controversies. The election was marked by low voter turnout. There was violent protests and the absence of major opposition candidates, amongst other issues there. What do you think this paints in terms of a picture when it comes to Tanzania's democracy?
Well, number one, I think that what is clear here is that there is no democracy in Tanzania right now. And this outcome of 98% in and of itself, to me, screams of election rigging. Even if I did not know the rest of the context, I would definitely be concerned about such a political outcome. But also, we've seen that opposition leaders were arrested. We've seen that there was intimidation. We've seen that there was shutting down of internet, social media. And I think up to now, the internet is shut down. It was only opened briefly to announce the result. And it looks as if, President Samia will basically have 3 terms because she came in 2021, basically giving her 4 years. And now she's going into her first term. And I don't know if we should really say that it's a first term considering that she already has been in power for this period of time. But definitely there has been democratic recession, or what do they call it? Backsliding is the formal term that they like to use in Tanzania right now. The African Union has congratulated her. I think that is a very troubling outcome because they keep congratulating these African leaders who are winning these elections in undue conditions and in ways that don't benefit the people on the ground. I think it's just also a reminder that we must be careful to clap and not clap when we get a first something, first woman, first black person, first such and such, because sometimes those people are not meaningfully representative. When we were clapping hands for President Samia, nobody was assuming that she's going to be the first woman dictator in Africa. We were actually hoping for something much better, but she has turned out that she actually wants to outdo the men who are doing dictatorship on this continent, and she's going for first prize. And right now, it looks as if she's actually outdoing them. Even Paul Kagame does not win elections with this kind of a percentage.
Yeah. Let's go to the US, or Nigeria rather. US President Donald Trump having said that he has asked the Defense Department to prepare for a possible fast military action in Nigeria if the country fails to address attacks on Christians. So, in a post there on Truth Social on Saturday, Trump also announced that the US would immediately halt all aid and assistance to the country of Nigeria. What do you make of Trump's announcement on cutting US aid and possibly intervening militarily in Nigeria?
It was a bit of a curveball because I wasn't expecting Trump to take such a hostile position on issues in Nigeria. One, because when he was doing the visa restrictions, I think we had a conversation on this platform around how Nigeria wasn't listed. And I thought it was very strange, because there's a large immigrant community in America from Nigeria. And also, there's a large number in terms of percentage terms of visa regulation violations and overstays. So I thought, oh, okay, it means Nigeria is in his good books. But right now, it looks as though things have changed and that Trump has taken a different tone. Of course, there are issues in Nigeria with Boko Haram, with the Fulani headsmen. There are issues of insecurity there, and there are some tensions in some parts of the country. But I don't know if this particularly is the right way of dealing with those issues, but definitely something happened between Trump's bureaucratic team and the Nigerian leadership that actually caused this kind of a shift. We thought it was mostly going to be South Africa, facing the Trump blaze this year in 2025, but it looks as if Nigeria is now on his naughty list. I mean, some people are talking about oil and an interest in oil. I'm not sure it's necessarily just about oil, because if it was, probably they would have done something earlier. And also people are pushing to electric vehicles now in America. So I'm not sure exactly what happened here, but it does look as if something has irritated Donald Trump in terms of his relationship with the Nigerian leadership.
All right, to Morocco now, Mighty. The United Nations Security Council has voted to extend the mandate of its Western Sahara Mission, or MINURSO, for another year, while formally endorsing Morocco's 2007 autonomy plan as the sole basis for resolving the long-running conflict there. How do you assess the UN Security Council's decision to endorse Morocco's autonomy plan?
Well, it does look as if this autonomy plan is gaining a lot of traction. If you recall, France endorsed it, a few other African nations endorsed it. We also saw this year Jacob Zuma also going to Morocco or endorsing some relationship with the Moroccans. So it looks as if this plan is gaining traction. The Moroccan argument has always been that it has been one country for the longest period of time, even predating, their colonization period. They've always said that the Polisario Front is not necessarily something that has a universal mandate in the Western Sahara, and that they've given sufficient autonomy in the Western Sahara to those particular groups of people for them to be able to self-actualize. And it looks as if the global community is persuaded by that, and that this is what is gaining traction right now. Of course, countries like South Africa and some members of the African Union have not necessarily endorsed this plan, but it looks as if it's now going to gain more traction, and we'll have to really see if there's going to be any internal opposition. We have seen Morocco going through youth protests and a little bit of internal instability, but not necessarily related to issues of the Western Sahara. But with France backing this, with the UN Security Council backing this, I don't necessarily see how it's going to be reversed at this particular point.
Tunisian authorities on Friday, they ordered the suspension of Nawat, one of the country's leading independent investigative media outlets. This in a widening crackdown on free speech and civil society. It's a month suspension. What does this mean then for Tunisia's democracy and the political climate there?
I don't think we should be referring to Tunisia as a democracy at this point. I think it has also gone in the direction of democratic backsliding. If you really think about the arrest of activists, the arrest of journalists, and now the suspension of investigative media outlets, this is not a democracy. We should call it a dictatorship at this point. It's definitely a setback, and hopefully we see other voices around the continent, especially media voices and practitioners, speaking up very vocally against this retrogressive move. But definitely, I wouldn't at this particular point call it a democracy.
Okay, we'll leave it there for today. Quite a lot of things that we had to cover, but we are unfortunately out of time. And we always appreciate your insights, Jamie. Have a great week ahead.
Thanks for having me, and thanks to everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you. That's our resident analyst, Mighty Jamie, giving us the roundup wrap. That's the segment that comes to you after the 6 a.m. news here on Rise and Shine on Mondays. Stay tuned. It's now 6:30, and we go to news headlines. Here's Onele Nzinzi.